and I am going to get started because we do have a lot to cover. So again, welcome to the Unapologetic Value Proposition. This is an idea that I had as I was working with a lot of specifically women, and I'm working with a lot of creative people, where I found that a lot of times it's very difficult for creatives to, or for people in generally to talk about why you are very good at what you do and why people should hire you. And a lot of us have this odd idea that our work should be speaking for ourselves, and we want them to just go to the website. We want them to just look at the proposal that we submitted, or look at what we do in the course of a day and then say, you're wonderful, and here is, I think, I should mentor you and I should give you all these opportunities. And then we have this absolute rude awakening when we find out that it's not the case, that people actually look at us to tell them why we deserve an opportunity, why we deserve to get a promotion, why we deserve to close the job, why we deserve to, to really be the center of attention. And we always have to prove ourselves. And that's when most people have a really, really difficult time articulating this. So again, please download the Unapologetic Value Proposition, the handout, because I'm going to give you some of these, I'm going to give you these 4 elements so you can work along with that. And as you can see in the, you should be seeing the download for that handout available to you. So download that so you can follow along. You don't have to, but I believe in, I believe in action. I believe in writing things down. I believe in giving you as much as I possibly can so that you then can go out and inspire more people with your brilliance, your work, and your contribution. Sounds good? All right. So what are we going to be covering here today is there's a formula for how to talk about yourself. I call it the pitch formula. The pitch formula on how to pitch anything to anyone, anytime. And I am going to give you a little bit more insights on the techniques that I teach my private clients that are paying thousands and thousands of dollars to work with me, on how to sort of set the goals. And of course, I have a little Beate twist to it, and reverse engineer your path of achieving that. And then I will give you an idea on what step you can take next. So I'm going to just say this for full disclosure so you know this ahead of time. I will be making you an offer because I've created a course that will teach you step by step on how to do what I'm outlining today. So expect that, embrace that. It's part of this presentation. And if that is for you, you will know if you need this. So trust your intuition. This is not a hard sell. Trust your intuition and really listen and participate to see if this is something that can help you to break through this very next level, because there is the one thing that is most important in a professional career, and the key to success, it is how you present yourself. How you present yourself, the words you use, the language you use, the persuasion that you have available to you makes the difference on whether people take you seriously. Sometimes, and I just had a conversation yesterday with a client who's signing up for private coaching, and she said to me, I have this discrepancy between the good girl and the warrior. And and if you fall back into this, or you don't know which one to turn on when, you can get yourself in real big trouble because you revert to a behavior that doesn't suit you. And remember, men have very strategic aspects in how they conduct business, and it's all designed to take weak players out immediately. So you need to know some of these strategies to get going. So I start my presentations with really outlining some of these ideas that I have about how do you approach your personal development and how do you approach how you are moving forward. So when you first learn a skill in life, you go and you take a training, you get started on, you get some equipment, you are on the bottom of the mountain, you are in the green runs, everything is fine and hunky-dory. And then there comes the point where you're going to go and you say, well, I'm done with like the idiot hills is how we call them, down here, and I'm going to go into the blue runs. I at least want to run a little bit faster. So you take more lessons, you get better gear, you muster up your courage, you go. And there comes inevitably the day where you look all the way up there at the top of the mountain. And as you can see, it already looks frightening. There aren't as many lifts up there. There are not as many people that go there. It's double black diamonds. And something happens when you finally muster up your courage and you go up there. You're still going to have what I call your oh shit moment. The oh shit moment is when you literally walk up to the edge and your skis or your snowboard is like sticking out by like this much. And you have to go all the way to the edge because it's going straight down there. And so you realize you have to jump. You have to jump somewhere between 4 to 6 feet. You have to make an immediate sharp turn. It's icy, and inevitably there's a rock in there. And some people tumble, and they tumble down the whole mountain. But there's only one way for you to go down. However, the only place on the mountain where you have an opportunity to see a 360-degree view is all the way on top of the mountain. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We are going to go all the way. I'm going to give you a bird's-eye view. I'm going to tell you sort of the tools that are required to master the skill of self-confidence, of positive self-talk, of presenting yourself as the person who deserves the opportunity for advancement, the raise, the opportunity for a high potential opportunity, to get a new job, to close a big deal, to find a new client, to get that 6-figure proposal. So there's a specific language you need that is required for you to really come across as a powerful a person that's right for the job, right? Okay, so the most important question that you need to be answering is why you. I get this all the time. What makes you different? Why are you a different trainer? What's different about your training? What's different about your approach? Why should I give you the opportunity? I already have people that, have been working on this job for years. Why do you deserve to do that? Whether you're a photographer, whether you are a hair and makeup artist, whether you are a realtor, whether you are a dentist, whether you are an employee in a position, you're a manager or a director, and you want to go up the ladder, it is always the same question. Why do you deserve the opportunity? And you better be having that answer shooting out like a cannon rocket instead of stumbling in the dark, because you want them to recognize that you are perfect for the job. So now I'm going to ask you a question, and I think I have this poll here. Now I don't have this poll, but let's just use the chat room here for a moment. So if I ask you on a scale 1 to 10, how much do you love selling yourself? Is that a 1 for I hate it? Is that a 10 for I love it? Is that a 5 for I'm okay, but I could do a lot better? So just type in those numbers in the chat so I can see it coming up here. And how uncomfortable is it for you? Is it comfortable? Is it uncomfortable? Tiffany, it's a 2. Oh, we got work to do, okay? Tabby says it's a 7. Hi, Tabby, it's so great to see you. Hannah says it's a 7. Okay, that's pretty good. So let's fine-tune some of these. We have a 3. Sarah says it's her least favorite part. Sephora says it's a 3. So you are all across, because it is, let's face it, it is a skill set, and there are certain elements that go into it that you need to learn. The thing that I worry about the most when I hear the discomfort about talking about yourself is the missed opportunity. Because if you calculate this and you say, I'm not getting the raise, that's what, $5,000, pardon me, or is it $10,000? And so for every time you're missing this opportunity, you're losing money. For every time you're not explaining what you're bringing to the table, you're losing money. And not just are you losing money, but the opportunities also to inspire people. And I'm so excited that Tabby is here. Tabby inspires people to be TEDx and TED Talk speakers, and I trained with her. So for every person that she doesn't reach, the world doesn't get to hear these amazing messages. So it's not just about how it affects you, but I also want you to think about it on a larger scale. How many people you're not inspiring, and how many people you are not attracting to your brilliance that then can do the work that they are meant to be, because we really are all connected. Lena says, I love it. She's an 8 and a 9. Excellent, Lena. I'm so excited to hear that. So the truth is, many of us, rather clean our house or the sock drawer than go into a pitch. And we don't like it. And oftentimes it feels very fake until we get to that moment where we talk about ourselves and it feels supernatural to us. So I'm going to be playing a quick video for you, which is pretty funny. And so I use this video to demonstrate, if you are not comfortable with selling yourself, and if you're not confident about how you present yourself, then this is how you are going. This is what I want you to do next. So let's play this video.
I'm going to say 2 words to you right now. I want you to listen to them very, very carefully. Then I want you to take them out of the office with you and incorporate them into your life.
Shall I write them down?
Well, if it makes you comfortable, it's just 2 words. We find most people can remember them.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay, you're there. Stop it!
I'm sorry?
Stop it!
Stop it?
Yes, S-T-O-P, new word, I-T.
So, what are you saying?
It's funny. I say 2 simple words, and I cannot tell you the amount of people who say exactly the same thing you're saying. I mean, this is not Yiddish, Catherine. This is English. Stop it.
So, I should just stop it.
There you go.
But I'm compelled to. My mom used to call me fatty.
No. No, we don't go there.
But I've been having this dream.
No, we don't go there either.
But my horoscope did say...
We definitely don't go there. Just stop it.
Pretty funny, isn't it? So this is a video I play because a lot of times people just love holding on to what they already what's really not working and stumble along. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to change it, and we're going to give you the formula to make this happen. So let's take your handouts. Again, if you have not downloaded the handout, it's right there in the chat room, the PDF for download, and let's talk about element number 1. So the most critical part about showing up unapologetically and confidently is that you need to know how to make your case. So I'm going to give you an example. So I use, when I go into my balanced leadership talks or demonstrations, or I pitch this training program to my clients, I show data and I present the data in such a way that they understand that this is a business case I'm making. So I'm not making this up, but I'm pulling data. So in this particular instance, I talk a lot about why women leadership is important. So I found a graph from Harvard, and it shows that when all men are in a team, the team intelligence is at its lowest, which is kind of hilarious. When it's all women, the team intelligence is better, but the team intelligence is highest when we are at 50-50. So I make a point that is male inclusive, where I don't want to bash men, because that doesn't work, because a lot of times men are decision makers. And I have to show that women have to bring something to the table without offending anybody. So when I show this data, I make a very clear case on why this makes a lot of sense. So I want you to just take a moment and write down in your handout some ideas and points of what can you do to make your case for what you are selling or what are you offering as a solution to your clients. The second element needed to pitch is to set a goal. And the way I set goals is I kind of look at this from the starting point, where I am and where I want to go. Because if you have these 2 parts of the path, to map out from how to get here to there is not that complicated. You do have to know that, you kind of want it to be that straight line, but really, in reality, life is more like this. You'll get there eventually, but usually it's a little bit of a crazy zigzag motion to get there. So the goal setting is, when I go into a meeting, when I go onto a phone call, when I go on a lunch, I always think about, everywhere I go, what do I want to get out of it? What do I want them to experience? What's the feeling I want them to take away? Am I there to get the next meeting? Am I there to be on the list for the opportunity? Am I there to be closing a deal? Am I there to make money? Am I there to, with my contract ready and for them to sign? So I want you to just take, a moment in an element number 2, write down some things for you to remember on when you reverse engineer the outcome, to really get clear on, as you go into these meetings, what's the objective, the goal that you're setting for any kind of meeting, any kind of presentation. And I just spoke at the Realtor Conference, a woman up in San Diego, and I only had a 15-minute speaking slot. So in a 15-minute speaking slot, you can't make an offer from stage. You can't really sell because you just don't have the time. So to be very clear when you go and present, in my particular case, what did I want the audience to take away from these 15 minutes, or, as I said earlier, Tabby's here and she does the TED Talk training. What do you want for a 15-minute TED Talk? It is the exposure, and it is for people to really ponder over the idea. So that has to be the center. And then you design the path to get there based upon what it is that you're trying to achieve. So I hope this makes sense. And if you have any questions, go ahead and just use that chat room and make your comments. I see it right here. As I said, I'm working on like 3 computers at the same time, so I can respond to you and see sort of what's going on. So I hope this makes sense and helps you a little bit. But this is really a critical element to achieving this. So I want to just give you a little bit of an overview of who I am. And a lot of you already know me, but I saw that there's quite a few people that are here for the first time, on what even makes me the authority on the subject, or to answer the question, why me? So I am a, single mom, immigrant. I'm originally from Germany, and my story is the story of hard knocks. So I came here because Los Angeles really spoke to me. I call it the city of misfits. Everybody who doesn't fit anywhere else comes here and enjoys themselves here. And I am really an accidental entrepreneur because I was laid off 6 months after I had my baby girl, who is now 28 years old, and you can see her in this photo. And I had to figure out, how am I going to be building my business, which I had no clue how to do. So I started working on on building this photographer representation and the photo production agency. And then then these things that happened to other people all happened to me. So I had an employee that betrayed me and started her own business, which was my business without me. I went into a lawsuit, sued them both for misappropriation of trade secrets and fraud, and was in a 1-year lawsuit. I lost my business, the other part of my business, production business, in September 11th, when the planes hit the tower. So went my entire production business with it. I lost $500,000 in only 1 day. And and it never came back because people, just didn't go back and flying, across the ocean after the tragedy of September 11th. And I had to figure out how I'm going to survive. And then the lawsuit settles, but it settles for zero. I tried to, set up this new company, which was a stock photography syndication. And the stock photography syndication was working really well. But the problem was that I didn't have any money. And as I didn't have any money, I got really, really deep into debt. So I go to Germany to drum up some business. And my father has a stroke, but my father doesn't have a stroke. My father has pancreatic cancer. and he was in a car accident, and 6 weeks later he dies in my arms in Germany. And it was a very difficult time because I have no money. I have a business in shambles. I have a great idea, but I don't have any funds. I'm deep into debt. My father dies, my biggest supporter, my friend, my confidant. And at this moment, we always talk about defining moments in life, and what we experience, what we are being put through to come out on the other side, to tell the story of how we kind of got out of it. And I remember we are at the funeral, and we are up on top of this beautiful mountain, and I want you to just go there with me for a moment. So we're in Nether Bavaria. I mean, it's drop dead gorgeous, and it's this hill, and there's this 14th century Baroque church, and we just buried my father. And I get a phone call from my office in Los Angeles, and now we've been served a notice. That means I'm also losing the house. I didn't own the house, but it was the new slum landlord. I mean, it was a disaster. So now I have to figure out how to move on money I don't have, how to pay for the funeral on money I don't have, and how to kind of get out of it. But in the meantime, I had written a letter to the President of the United States. And why kind of not, right? And so I got this letter from the White House, and it said that the president is delighted to hear from you. Now, I am certain that the president of the United States never read my letter, nor does he know my name. But what it did do, it put me in touch with the Small Business Administration, and that got me the meeting. And I had written a business plan, before, on weekends and at night. So, that's why I'm doing the training that I do, and I do what I do because I want you to be ready when the opportunity comes. I read this great quote. It says, "You can't give up before the miracle happens." So I could have given up at any moment. Anybody would have said, of course, she has every reason to give up because all this hardship that she had to endure. However, I didn't. And then I, walked into the Small Business Administration. They helped me find a bank to restructure my debt and free up my line of credit. 3 months later, I'm at break even. 18 months later, I'm the world leader in celebrity at home stories, licensing into 97 countries in the world. I had stories from Francis Ford Coppola, from Madonna, from Simon Baker, Terry Hatcher, Heidi Klum, Seal. I mean, you name them. Those were the stories I sold, and it was amazing. And that's what attracted the attention of a Bill Gates company, Corbis, which was privately held by Bill Gates. And I got and they wanted me to tell them on how I do it. And I told them, if you want to know how I do it, you're going to have to buy the business. And they said yes. And so they paid me millions of dollars to sell my business to them so that they could incorporate it into that business. And I was part of the integration. And then they offered me the global senior director position for entertainment for all of Corbis, which I loved. And then I realized that I recognized, and I saw this from being a woman entrepreneur before, how difficult it is for women comparatively to men. And then when I was in the corporation and I worked under the rules in a Bill Gates company, I saw how bad it really is for women in corporations. And that's when I quit, founded the Women's Code. And ever since, I've been really in service of training and helping specifically women to step into a position of more confidence and clarity about what women leadership really is and how to talk about that. And for the men that I work with and for the men that are in my circle, most of the men that come to me also are interested in balanced leadership. They want the male and the female to coexist and to incorporate both sides and understand women better and be more successful, because half of the population is women. So we have a voice, and we need to be, and this voice needs to be heard. So here is a quick view of the letter from the President of the United States. So I want to stress this, because sometimes it's so easy to look at people when they're out on the other side and say, well, I would never be able to achieve that. But my story, and the reason I tell my story, is not for some egomaniac purpose, but for the reason that this is your excuse eradicator. I slept on a futon, on a floor. I had a $25 blanket. I froze my butt off every night because I couldn't afford more. I drove a $500 car, luckily it had 007 license plate, but this is how I started. It's hardly a princess story. So I don't know where you are at right now and what you are going through, but I do tell you that if I could make it, then you can make it too. And something just fell over. So somebody must have heard that. Sorry about that. So you can also do this. If I can, you can as well. So let's go back to our presentation and to our third element, which is the most critical part about this formula that I'm giving you, the 4 elements to a unapologetic value proposition. It is understanding what is going on in their minds, because the one thing that everybody worries about more than anything else, what do I get? What's in it for me? So I want you again to just take your hand out and write down a couple of notes on how can you get, and I call this part crawling into their minds. Sounds creepier than it is. But how do you know what's going on in their minds? What is it that they want? And it's a difference on whether or not they are a mother of 3 and they are afraid of losing their job, whether it's an ambitious 28-year-old young white male who just wants to, charge his career, who is unattached, who has who has none of that stuff that a young mother of 3 maybe has. What about somebody who is 55 years old that is your direct contact? Are they going to be worried about getting fired before they reach retirement and then never having another job again? So you really need to incorporate in your pitch the elements that this other person is worried about, because you are not doing business with a business, you're doing business with a person. It's the difference between making that person next to you a champion or making that person be a gatekeeper, a block that you need to jump over. And when you shift that mindset out of that, oh my God, they just don't get it and they don't hear me and I don't understand why it's so difficult, why they can see it, to worrying about what is it that they want. So I think about this as I, present to you. It's like, what do you want? And that determines the language that I use, that determines the material that I train in, that determines the offer that I'm making, because I think about, if you have a difficult time articulating what makes you so good and you don't understand the steps, the formula, because I happen to be really good at breaking complex things down into steps and formalizing everything. So if it's a systems or a process, I'm excited because that's my jam. That's what I'm really, really good at. So it's my job, my obligation, my pleasure, my passion to then share this with you and say, if you have an issue with that, I can help you with that. If you allow me to do that, and if you're ready. And if you look at the video that I played earlier, the Stop It video, which is funny, but poignant in a different way, is because the proof is in the pudding. It works if the money is in the bank and you're closing the deals, and if you get the promotion, and if you are attracting the clients, and if you're getting to these larger jobs, the bigger reach, a broader base, and you build your authority platform, because it should be going step by step by step up. But if it isn't, if it's a circular motion, then you're somewhere caught in the circular motion and you need to break that cycle. And that means if you need to break a cycle, and only you can answer that. So I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to give you an offer and to show you some additional ideas on how to get out of it. And it is up to you to take me up on that or not, if you're not ready. But if you're ready, the idea is always like, I cannot continue like this. So if you cannot continue like this, or if you say, I want to be better, or I'm on that, I'm starting to get out of it, what do you need to do to increase that momentum? So let's talk about that for a little bit. So is this also something that not just you yourself need, but let's say you have a team of people, and whether that's a virtual team or whether that's a team in the office, if you have your entire team on this and do this particular program also as a team training, because it will bring everybody on the same page and understand the language that needs to be used to arrive sort of at this winning pitch as how to put it out there. And it should be literally used for every single pitch. Does this kind of stuff work? So I'm going to just tell you a couple, things that I've done this for. So I have been very privileged to train our California Women's Caucus, our women state senators, and it's bipartisan. And when I was up in Sacramento and I was in the room with these, with the most powerful women of the fifth largest economy in the world, that was an amazing, amazing moment for me. And they're sitting there, and you think that they have different problems than you do. They don't. They go through the same thing, because no matter how many bills they write, and when the governor signs it into law, they still go home and they have to tell their husband and their kids to help them take the trash out. So they, and they are surrounded by men in a very male-dominated field. So they also have to have that language. So I gave them the same language tips and the same, formula on how they can collaborate with each other and achieve, moving forward. I also taught this at the California State University of Dominguez Hills. And as a immediate result of this program, people, one person was accepted in a very prestigious program because she pitched it, and another woman who was in an interim leading position actually pitched it and got the permanent position. So this stuff really works. So let's just do a quick mid-training check. We have more to cover, but I want to just, just sort of check in with all of you, and go ahead and use the chat room. Give me your feedback. Are you getting a couple of pointers out of it? Is this making sense? Is this helping you a little bit? So I would love to, just see on my chat room here a couple of messages coming through, so I know you're here and you're with me, so to speak. So we covered so far 3 of the 4 elements, and there's one more element coming, the pitch formula. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, tell you what I have put together, and then I'm going to go through that briefly, and then afterward we'll close this with a pitch formula. So let's move on. So I would like you to now go to the URL rocketlaunch.training, and I'm going to take you through what is on this page. So this is my offer that I'm making today. So this is the program, as I said, Rocket Launch Your Career, the 4 essential elements you need to find your super skill, create a value proposition, and pitch anything to anyone with myself. So this is a course that is a 5-track course that has 4 main elements, and then there's a bonus track in there. The URL is rocketlaunch.training. So you know what? Let me just put that in here in the, let me just publish that. So there you go. You see it now in the chat room. Thank you, Tabby, for reminding me of that. So just click on that and go there. So the objective is to lead you through the steps of putting this formula together. Everything I do is repeatable, is sequential, and you get a workbook. We do it together. You are following along the course. In the first track, you focus on your goals and personality. We talked about it a little bit, and we dive more into this in the course about how, what some of the tricks are to set these goals so you can actually achieve that. There is a time management element in here, as well as a balanced life plan. And the reason I sort of, because the way I build businesses, this is sort of my specialty, is if we set it up, we may as well set it up so it works for you. Pardon me. A mother that has to go at 4:45 and pick up her child from school with a small child has a different way to set this up than somebody who is not attached or is already coming out on the other side. So this is a formula that you apply, but your results are individually customized for what it is that you want. But a lot of times what I also have learned in business building is when I ask my clients, what's the model, what's the business model? They say, I don't really know what the business model is, so I'm trying to still figure this out. We need a business model that is designed based to suit you and not anybody else. And I'm going to give you an example so you know exactly what I mean. So I was working with a woman that set up a business with where she does quotes. So it's a online business where people come and they get these beautiful quotes, and then they're framed or they're on T-shirts or on bracelets. And she came here and she wanted to really replace her corporate job. She wanted to make about $150,000. So I checked with her, and she was making almost $500,000 with this business. And I said to her, is it time for us to go and take it to the next level? And she said to me, no, because based upon what I learned from you, I'm very clear. I can probably, hover around the $450,000 without having to scale my business. But once I get over $500,000, then I need to get an office. I need to hire people. And my son is 12 years old now. And the reason I left the job is because I wanted to be here. So I'm not building this consciously to this level yet because I want to enjoy these moments with him. So we made a conscious decision that we were going to remain at status quo to suit her lifestyle. So do not underestimate the power that you have in setting this up the way you want. So this is why in track number 1, we put so much emphasis on this. In the second one, we talk about your super skill. And this is the biggest aha moment for everybody, because we are so trained, and the men's code is trained to constantly tell you what you are not good at, that we feel like we always have to cover and excuse what we haven't mastered yet. But instead, in this program, you're going to learn how to harp on your super skill and how to tell them why you're so good at that thing, and how to ignore when the assault comes on the stuff that you're not great at, and lead them right back to your super skill. This is such a powerful, powerful thing. And one of my clients used it, the very woman that was promoted to this job, and part of it is training and speaking a lot. And she says, I hate talking about myself. So I said to her in the super skills portion of the course, if you are not good at introducing yourself, have somebody introduce you. So we go to the conference, and long behold, she says, I'm so glad you're here. She gives me the paper with her introduction, and she said, I learned this from you. I don't like introducing myself. Will you please do me the honor and introduce me? I was laughing. I was honored. I thought she nailed it. And of course, it was my pleasure to introduce her. It is something sometimes as simple as that, but that's the stuff that I'm going to teach you. Then, of course, there's the professional value proposition on how you dive into the ROI of leadership and how to present that, because it's a formula on how you act, a formula that you use to in order. There's an ABC formula, 1, 2, 3, on how you present that. So I'm going to teach you that. And then in the final session, we focus on career advancement, where we put your unapologetic sales proposition or unique selling proposition together that is then specifically custom catered for you. In an accountability track, there is homework and a workbook as well. Then you have 2 options for this. So I'm offering this as just an online course. So if finances are an issue, I encourage you to just take the online offer, which is $497. And as you see, as I'm launching this, I'm going to give you $1,000 off. Usually it's $997. I slashed that in half. And then we are starting the mastermind, and I'm going to put the dates in, once the card closes. but it'll be obviously in November. And then we will be working together, but you have done the groundwork, and then we'll work together to make sure that each one of you participating in this course actually has their value proposition in place, and that you are having that language that is critical for you to succeed in your goals. Here's another couple that is one of my wonderful success stories. They finished a training on a Thursday. They walked in on a Friday morning and closed $100,000 job using the very language that I use. So here's the order form. And again, it's all set up here so you can take a look at this on what you are getting out of it. And then here you see you can either set it with a mastermind or without the mastermind. It is, as I said, $1,000 less expensive. This offer is available for 72 hours until Friday evening. You will also be receiving will be receiving more emails to remember. But again, and people always go like, well, of course she's making an offer. Well, of course I'm making an offer. But the offer really is here for you to decide. It is almost November 2019. If you have struggled with this, talking about yourself, which everybody does, and only you know what your pain point is with that. If you need help, and some of you will take this training and going to be okay, but if you need help with this, or if you feel you really want to make 2020 the year where you finally show your brilliance and you step out and you let people see what's inside of you and you're ready to show up, then I'm asking you to sign up, because it is a game changer and the results are there. I would love to have you on it, but you have to make a decision. So make a decision, and on whether it's a conscious yes or a conscious no, only you can determine that, but I'm here to support you with your advancement and with really getting you to that next level. So if you have any questions, go ahead and use the chat room. And now we're going to go, and we are going ahead and finishing with the pitch formula, our element number 4. So the pitch formula is, and again, take your handouts and write that down in the handout. Number 1, you got to clarify what you want. So what is it that you want to take away? I am pitching this because I want you to give me this job. I'm pitching this because I want you to give me the opportunity. I'm asking you to give me the raise. So you actually have to say it, what it is. I want a $10,592 raise by Monday. So the clarity on the pitch formula is critical for you to achieve what you want. The second part of the pitch formula is you have to tell them what they're getting. The reason you want to give me the raise, the reason you want to sign up, the reason you want to give me this opportunity is because, and then you have to tell them what's in it for them. I make you look good. We are going to have a consistent language with everybody. You are going to know the formula, whatever it is that you're teaching. This is part of the pitch formula. They have to know what they're getting, because we talked about it. All they want is to know what's in it for them. And then you are finishing the pitch formula with why you are uniquely skilled to do the job. The reason I should be getting the opportunity, the reason you want to sign up for this, the reason I should be getting the raise is because I am the best person for the job. And this is when you pull out your super skill presentation and, the portions of of what we've talked about, what make you so special and unique. And you demonstrate to them that you are the best person for the job. So I hope this helps you a little bit. And if you want to continue further, again, you will learn what your super skill is and what the formula is to figure this out, what the thing is that makes you special. You're going to get language to pitch. You are going to learn my special trick on how to always be ready, because it's one of the men's code tricks, is to catch you unprepared and to yank you in a different direction. It's part of the program to really also look into sort of the difference between how men and women do it. And that's why women have so many times so many problems with this, is because we are told to be women, but then we have to work in the men's world and by their rules. And if we are not clear what those rules are, it can be very difficult to advance and succeed. And plus, the most important thing, you'll really understand this part of the equation, is to understand what they want and then reverse engineer everything that you do. And oftentimes, when you go through this, you'll recognize that some of the language you're using, or even on your website's all about you and it's not about them. And that's why people are not coming and saying yes to you, because they read about you and you and you and you and you. And, and I was at this event that I was one of the speakers, and I could tell that she gets booked to talk about her story. And the entire presentation was about herself. And while that was impressive because she was an impressive person, I think that it's better if you engage the audience and you give them those tidbits that you have learned, right? So that the audience knows what's in it for them. You use the pitch once you have this formula to showcase your leadership skills, advance and get promotions, to land these opportunities, land more clients, to show up at work stronger, to be more confident. Confidence is something I hear every day, all day. Explain specifically the value you bring to a job, why you should be on a team or get a board position or be on a leadership team or an organizational team. And it will really help you to design your clear success path. There's only, the future is in good hands, and that is your hands. And again, the URL is rocketlaunch.training. If you are an employee and you have a company that would pay for this, I have also created a pitch letter, surprise, surprise. So if you need help with that, there's my email right down there, and you all have my emails. Just shoot me an email and I'll be happy to forward this letter to you. About me, as you know, I'm a trainer and I work with people one-on-one. I do corporate training and development. I work with entrepreneurs. So if that's something you're interested in, or you have a group you want to speak to me about, please do reach out. And in closing, I want to say that for me, the most important thing is that we recognize, especially as women right now, that we have been pushing that boulder up that mountain for so long that we finally have gained a critical momentum. And if we do not step up now collectively, and if we don't show that we are taking charge of women leadership in a much, much larger and much, much more concise ways, we may never get there. I've had conversations 30 years ago that I had 20 years ago, that I had 10 years ago, that I have today, that my daughter, who is 27 now, is having today. I am in service of women leadership, and I encourage you to really examine this on how you are doing as a woman leader. Do you have the language? Do you show up as strong as you possibly can show up to do the work that we've been all called to do? And with that, I thank you so much for being here, and goodbye, everybody.